Okay, so we're live. Welcome back to the Magic Minds podcast. I'm Matt Burke. Today I'm joined by a special guest, a lovely woman by the name of Eileen Flynn. Eileen, how's it going?
Hey Matt, how are you? You're very welcome over to Labry and into the house as well. So yeah, it's great to be able to do an interview in your own home, you know.
Absolutely brilliant. Eileen invited me over to Labra Park. It's a community for the travelling community. A halting site for the travelling community. Sorry about that. The reason I've asked Eileen on to the show was because I seen her on a TV3 programme on the telly, and she has a degree in community development, but she also has a master's in reality, and that absolutely blew me away. She seems a very powerful woman. She's a woman from the travelling community, but also she's an activist for rights. So I'd love to get to know her story. So how long have you been at the activists and the...
Well, I'll tell you how else. Like, I'll tell you my story, okay?
Yeah, please.
I was born and reared in a halting site in Ballyfermot, here in my family home. There was 9 of us altogether, 9 children, and my mother and father. Our mother died 18 years ago. Our father died 6 years ago. Completed first level education, second level education, and third level education. Went to school in Ballyfermot. Looking back now, how my mother was treated and how we were treated through the education system in primary school was absolutely horrible, you know. And now that I'm educated, I'd never leave that be done to my own children, you know. So we did have struggles, and I didn't know about them struggles at the time, but I know now, you know. So that was primary school experience. Secondary school, I was in a very bad car crash. I broke my 2 hips, my ankle, my elbow. I spent a lot of my childhood in Our Lady's Hospital for Sick Children. I went into secondary school, and challenges then with pains, missing out some days and stuff, you know. I have a twin sister, and years ago I used to wash her uniform and support her to stay in school while I couldn't stand school myself. I got suspended 8 times in secondary school, and just about to get expelled when I was 17, and then I started valuing education just when I was 17, and as well then it used to get me out of the house for an hour, you know, so a few hours.
Okay, so it's only really 17 years of age that you really start getting into education, is it?
Yeah, at 17 I knew that I didn't want to get married at a young age. Okay. And I wanted to get me leaving cert, you know. So that was the reason. I remember actually a teacher came out to my house, a nun, and we're talking about a foam, and I flinged the foam around the kitchen, barely missing the nun. I'm not proud of it, you know, but it makes me see that there's other young people out there like me today, you know, and that does really value education with it in their heart, but don't feel it's the norm, don't feel it's the right thing to do, you know. Okay. So when I was 17, you get to know yourself a little bit better, you know. Okay. So anyway, I completed the leaving cert, got diagnosed with dyslexia, which was absolutely horrible, because you don't feel good about yourself, you feel horrible about yourself, you already feel horrible about yourself because you come from an ethnic minority group that's not respected in Ireland, you know. So when I was 18, I got diagnosed with dyslexia, and it was a very big challenge for me. I went into Trinity College to do the Trinity Access Programme. From there...
is that the TAP programme, is it?
The TAP, yes.
Right, my daughter's applied for that this year because she's from an area, from a catchment that we can go to that. So you've done that course after you've done your leaving cert?
Yes, I've done an LTA leaving cert.
Okay, very
good. So I wasn't ready for that course, you know. And I didn't get the supports I needed as a young traveller woman with dyslexia, you know. Okay. It was so challenging for me to walk out the halting site for that year, because it was young traveller woman going to college. Right. Now my twin sister was going to college as well.
Okay, what college was she going to?
Liberties. She went and did youth work in Liberties.
All right, deadly.
Yeah.
Right around the corner for me.
Yeah, so we used to take different... It was very hard for us because we were twins. And I did feel like our mother, when she was I turned right to get the Lewis, and she turned left to get the bus. You know, yeah.
Okay, so what was that first year like for you then? Was it only a year you spent in Trinity?
I spent a year in Trinity, and it was horrible.
Right.
For me personally.
Why were the supports not there? What would you think was the problem?
I think it's like, you know, not understanding the levels of support that maybe some members of the traveller community may need, you know.
Okay, so there was supports there, it just wasn't specific to the needs of you. They could have tailored a bit more, let's say?
There was supports there, but wasn't the right supports.
Okay, so it wasn't specific to you?
No.
Okay,
no.
So just...
And basically I think I got an extra grant because I was a member of the traveller community.
Okay.
And that was fine, you know, but still didn't cover me because I used to sneak on the Lewis.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the money to and that's the truth. I used to sneak on the Lewis every single morning and come home every evening on the Lewis, and didn't pay on the Lewis, you know, because I did everything to get myself through, you know.
Yeah.
And barely would get a cup of tea in the days, which was 70 cents for a cup of tea, and that would keep me going. I couldn't even function when I was in Trinity College.
You're joking.
No,
that's unbelievable.
And I struggled so much in it, you know.
Yeah.
I struggled. It was never seen before in my family that the two of us were in college and stuff, you know.
That's amazing.
And so I'd give up money in the house, you know, because we have a big family, as I said, and some was struggling, like.
Yeah.
So I'd give up that money in the house so I could go to college. Now, my father always would have valued education, you know, but we didn't get great supports from at home because he was a widow man, you know.
Yeah.
And none of my other brothers or sisters ever went to university or completed a second level education. So, like, he was very proud of us and stuff, you know, and he did the best that he felt he could do for us.
Yeah.
However, it came with its challenges. So, and then there's a statue when you're going into Trinity College.
Right.
And I didn't feel good enough. I felt that statue was telling me this is not, like, this place is not for you, you know.
Right.
Yeah, so I think it was a lot to do with my own self-esteem back then too.
Oh, yeah.
As well as not having the right supports for me, because access to education is one thing, but supporting somebody to be successful is another thing. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, so, it's a two-way street.
Yeah. And but anyway, I completed the course. I didn't do biology again from secondary school. I always wanted to be a nurse and be in Australia by the age of 24 and forget everything that was happening in Ireland with my own community.
Yeah.
Okay. So from there, I went to Ballyfarmer College for 2 years. I did care for the person with special needs, and I also did pre-nursing. But care for the people of special needs made me understand that having a disability didn't make you silly. Do you know what I mean? And how we can support people, so dyslexia, Down syndrome, anybody who has special needs, you know?
Yeah.
And so I did 2 years there. Then my father, I worked, in the Irish Traveller Movement then for a year.
Right.
Absolutely loved it.
Right.
Now remember, I was 22. I still didn't know who I was at this point.
Okay.
And I didn't have a clue. Actually, 21, 22, I didn't have a clue. I didn't accept myself as a member of the traveller community until I was 25 years of age. Right? Because when you're told that you're no good, that your family are dirt, that you are a problem to society.
Okay, so you just says, I don't want to be part of this group.
Yeah. I didn't want to be part of the hate, discrimination, the being treated as a doormat, you know what I mean?
Of course, yeah.
And how people would treat you. But then I think even if you look at it, like I did a little bit of psychology as well while I was in college and stuff. Like nobody really finds who they are until they're in their mid-20s, you know?
Absolutely. People develop at a later stage and just awareness and insight, absolutely.
But what you said to me, Matt, just before we set it up here was, when you accept yourself, you know what I mean, as an individual, then you can feel for other people and accept what's going on around you too.
Absolutely, yeah.
So for me, it was like, you know, because and I know a lot of people probably never heard me speak like this before, which is absolutely brilliant as well, because I get to tell my story. Yeah. For me, it was really, really hard to living with not wanting to be who I was. Like, if I met somebody on a night out, I tell them I'm part of the traveller community. I used to come up with these little that didn't made me a good traveller. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
what society always wanted to do with us as a community of people,
right,
you know?
You try to fit yourself into the norm.
Yes.
Of what would be perceived as a good traveller. Well, I do this and I do that and I'm a good traveller, not like them other ones.
Yeah, and that was exactly what was absolutely killing me inside. It was a really hard few years of going through what I was going through, you know?
Yeah.
And to make a really long story short, I worked in the Irish traveller movement and I started to find myself and respect myself, respect my community, value my community, value the struggles that my mother and father had to go through here and where we live, value that every negative experience I had in life made me the woman I am today, you know. Even when I was in hospital as a child, like, how I be treated was different than the other children, you know. So, of course, if society doesn't accept you, you do find it very hard to accept yourself.
Is that this wasn't on my radar that you're talking about this. Is that across the board? Are a lot of travellers like that? Or did you not talk about it?
A lot of travellers probably don't identify as travellers, you know. I could go to a room full of people, and I remember actually last year at the Women's Fest giving a talk, and I presumed there were no travellers in the room. This young woman, 19 years of age, I still have her image of me in my head, like, beautiful young woman, black long hair, and she came up to me and she just bawled her eyes out crying. Was
that the repeal?
No, it was a feminist festival in the National Women's Council of Ireland.
Okay.
And she came up to me and she gave me the biggest hug and she said to me, I'm a member of the traveller community, Eileen, she said, but I find it so hard, she said, to identify as a traveller, you know. So in a lot of things, if you want to get on in life, you know, it's easier to hide it. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
And that's what we're seeing now in our community. A lot of young travellers, a lot of people are hiding their identity. And I know what it's like hiding my identity. I did it for years, you know, and that was issues I had with myself. But it wasn't that my community wasn't good enough. It was that society wasn't good enough for us, do you know?
And your perception of what you needed to be and what society wants from you.
Yes.
Yeah, totally understand that.
And it's a bit like, you know, I think we've a lot in common with many different communities that's in Ireland today. Mm. And I'd have a lot of friends who are gay, who are lesbian, who's trans. And a lot of the time, people would say, I have to come out, you know? So imagine how hard it is for a person in a workplace to come out as a gay man or a gay woman. But the traveller community, if you want to success in life, you know, you have to hide it. But again, it's similar to the LGBT community, where you come out when you feel it's the right time, and you say, I'm a member of the traveller community, or I'm a traveller woman. And now, since I was 25 years of age, the best thing that ever happened to me was finding myself and accepting myself, you know, and accepting the history, everything about my community. And I've learned that it wasn't my community, it was society, you know.
Yeah.
And since I found myself in the world as a traveller woman, I absolutely growed over the last 3 years, you know.
About the education, and then you went on, you done the Trinity, okay, the travelling community have known that you're gone, you're doing education. How was that received by them? You know, just from my own understanding, that education wouldn't be big in the travelling community. How were you accepted with that from your...
The thing is, right, every single Halton site and every single family, like any other family in Ireland, you know, let it be any community, white, settled, or the general population, you know, that we all, like, different class and stuff, you know. So in Labrie Park where I live, at the time, me and Sally were the first two to ever go on to college, you know. So, but traveller community always valued education. Do you know what I mean? But we never got the equal opportunities as the white settled community of Ireland got, you know.
Right.
So, like years ago, when my sister would say to me, now, at the top of the site there used to be a school. And that school was specifically for travellers. Mm-hmm. So they used to bring in the traveller children and wash them every day. Mm. Now my mother would always wash my sisters and brothers before we go to school. And I remember growing up as a child, you see that fireplace there?
Yeah.
My mother used to hand wash our white stockings and dry them every single night. And if our stockings wasn't snow driven and white, she wouldn't send us to school, you know, because of what used to happen to the travellers years ago, to our community, you know. They'd wash the kids, and then when the kids did go into, as they call it, mainstream school, traveller children, there was a white line, right? Now my sister would tell me these stories.
Right.
And one part of the yard was for the normal, for the verse commons, the normal children.
Right.
And the other part was for the traveller children. Do you know?
Wow.
So the segregation of the traveller community in education was there, you know what I mean? And like for many, many years. So it's not that travellers don't value education. And to be fair, in some areas, education is not the norm, you know?
Right.
Because, like, as again, it comes back to supports. How do we support a young traveller, woman, man, to get through this system? But not only to get through, but to be successful within the system, you know what I mean?
Of course.
Because a lot of the time we look at access to education. We all have that right to access to education. But we have to look at what do we need when we access education.
Just like what you said about the Trinity. Yeah. There's no point giving you access to Trinity if there's no supports there.
Yes, but they didn't know that I was sneaking on the loos every day.
Oh yeah, and
they
dyslexia.
didn't know that I had, like, I told them my dyslexia, right. And I would have got, but I got, like, I remember actually one time when I went in and how I stopped getting the supports because a person came to me with a book, but the book, after me doing my leaving cert, was A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Actually, I feel a little bit emotional now, even speaking about it. So I wasn't at that level. Like, I'm after completing a leaving cert. Right. Now, it may not have been the traditional leaving cert. It was the LCA leaving cert, you know.
Still leaving cert.
It was still a leaving cert.
Absolutely,
you know.
Something to be proud of.
And it was something that I struggled. It was something that my twin sister struggled to get, as like with other barriers in her way, like, you know.
Of course.
And you get that from being just a member of the traveller community. You get it from accommodation. You get it from, and for me, I was really sick at the time, you know. But so I've had some great experience, some bad experience. Ballyfarmer College was a great college for me. Yeah. I absolutely loved it, you know.
It was a PLC course.
Yeah, it was a PLC course, and I did it for 2 years, you know. Yeah. And I did one course to pre-nursing, and I was well able for it, you know. So I started building my confidence up. And then I did care for the person with special needs, building my confidence up again. Great tutors in that college, you know. And I'd advise anyone before you go to a university, go to a PLC college, make some friends that, like, I've got friends from that course that I still speak to today, you know. But then I came out when I worked in the Irish Traveller Movement. As I said, I was trying to, like, you know, it was absolutely, the Irish Traveller Movement, I don't give them enough credit as an organisation, you know. And I am an individual member of the organisation, and I love the organisation to bits for personal reasons, but also for the work that they do, you know. Okay, brilliant. And the Irish Traveller Movement, to me, they accepted me for who I was as a traveller, you know. So I didn't have to, like, if I wanted to drink, I'm still a traveller. If I wanted to go out for a night out, I'm still a traveller. If I got my education, I'm still a member of the traveller community, you know. Because sometimes we have what's culture and what's the norm, you know. So it was the norm that, like, not that even that travellers didn't want to go to school, but we never got the right supports for school, do you know what I mean? Or, like, you know, if a traveller child misses out 20 days, the state doesn't do anything about it. But if a settled child misses out 20 days, the state is straight away onto it. Now, when I say the state, I mean the Department of Education, you know.
Tusla and all that.
Yeah, they're all there, and they're giving out letters and warning the parents. Okay. a lot of travellers don't get that, you know.
Wow.
So, like, you know, and like myself, I wasn't ready for school. As I said, I got expelled. I was in a really bad place, you know. And I think if you have that bit of potential in our children, in Ireland, that our children will go an awful long ways, you know.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I failed me leaving cert anyway myself, and I went on done a degree years
somebody,
later.
Somebody said to me, going back a few years ago, I went for a job interview in Clondalkin Travellers. I didn't get the job. I didn't have a clue. Now, this is also going back like before I went to college. And I remember this person said to me, Eileen, you can fail so very often, but you're not a failure until you give up, you know. And that's always kind of helped me. So anyway, everything happens for a reason. I didn't get that job. I got accepted into Maynooth University to study community and youth work, right? I'll tell you another story. I wanted to be a nurse. I wanted to give something back to society as well as getting away, and my story at the time around wanting to do nursing. Out in Maynooth, I learned a lot about empowering, disempowered. I learned a lot about racism, discrimination, and all these stuff that I see my community going through on a daily basis, you know. And my twin sister, when she was doing youth work, I said, no. I said, would you go away doing the youth work? I said, all youth workers do is play pool with young people. What does youth work do? And this is my understanding of it, you know. Again, it was that hierarchy. I wanted to be something else, you know. And so after the Irish Traveller Movement, working in the Irish Traveller Movement as a National Education Officer at the time, I said, I've nothing to prove to anybody. I can give back to my own community and start. And the first time I ever did a speech was in 2011 outside, I think it was the GPO, around the education cuts. And I did speak out loud about having dyslexia. I remember the shame that I felt, like, and even now it's on YouTube and I still feel ashamed of me even outing that and saying it, you know.
Of course, it's difficult, isn't it? Like, Jesus, the shame of it. There's a lady called Brene Brown. Do you listen to her or anything? But she talks about, you know, shame. You know, it's rude in here, you know.
Yes, yeah.
It's worth listening to. Brene Brown's her name.
Brene, yeah, I will have a listen to it. But it's the same way of coming from an ethnic minority group. Is that just, like, you know, it's crazy. I think the only way you really understand is you have to be a member of the traveller community, or you really have to be open-minded, and you really have to listen and value the traveller community and have a passion for a positive change that will, like, care for for my community, you know. Like, you know, a lot of people would say them travellers, dead travellers, you travellers, these kind of words. Like, language is everything. Do you know what I mean? So by saying dead travellers, them travellers, it's automatically you're singling out
them over there, yeah.
You're singling out the traveller community. You know what I mean? So we look all the time, the gays, the refugees, them migrants, them travellers. So, and that's one of our biggest issues.
Then what should people say then?
Us, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
Us, and like you know. Traveller community.
Right.
Traveller community, because that's what it is. Traveller community.
Traveller community.
Not their traveller community.
Gotcha.
Not them travellers. It's traveller community, you
gotcha.
know. Because language is so important, and sometimes we can single out, not knowing, like, because I wouldn't have known this either until I went to college and kind of, like, you know, it opened up my eyes to our language. But, yeah, so I went to college, Maynooth was very easy for me because I was financially better. I really I had a passion for equality. Really found myself in the world and got involved politically, you know. So, like, from that first time looking back at talking in 2011 and feeling what I said, the shame, you know, I never felt that shame since. You know what I mean? Like, you feel ashamed as a woman sometimes around the referendum, and, like, there's still, like, you know, a lot of stuff that we shame women for in society in general, you know.
Of course.
And I think for a lot of travellers, like, society still doesn't accept us, you know. And thing is, society probably will never accept us, because if you look at the government, if you look at our state, always wanted to make us fake settled people, right?
Okay.
Have you ever heard the term settled traveller?
Of course.
No such thing as a settled traveller. This is laws, policies. This is what the government, what the state wants, because the settled travellers will be better than travellers.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Okay, more control over the travelling community.
It's a bit like if you're from Foxrock.
Okay.
You're more well off, more better than them from Ballyfarmers.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So that's why it is. But one of my friends, Cindy Joyce, would speak a lot about the state trying to make us fake settled people, you know. And I'd agree with Cindy when she speaks about that, and I now understand it, you know. For the traveller community, like, we haven't got, not that we want a power in Ireland or anything like that, you know, but we have these academics, politicians, people making decisions about our history, who we are, right? Where we came from, how long we're in Ireland, what's best for us in the future and going forward and accommodation, right?
Okay.
So we've got all these people, policymakers or whatever you'd like to call them, making decisions on our behalf, but not consultant with the traveller community.
Okay, that must be difficult.
It's difficult, but hey, it saves an awful lot of hard work, doesn't it? You know? Because one thing is being a member of the traveller community, you don't have to make any decisions, because the general population makes it for you, and the state makes these decisions for you.
Wow. Just talking about, you talked about being a traveller woman. What is it like to be a traveller woman right now, and how has that changed over the years? Let's say from your mom's era or your auntie's era to now. What's it like for you, Eileen, as a traveller woman?
2012, when my father passed away, I got a tattoo in my arm here, and it says "Power to Women." Me as a traveller woman, I always felt that I wasn't getting equal treatment to men in my community, do you know? And I know that happens in all communities, you know? But a lot of the time we mix it up with culture. So traveller women don't behave like that. So our traveller women don't do this, traveller women shouldn't do this, shouldn't do that. What makes a real traveller woman? I haven't got a clue. Do you know? My mother did the markets her whole life with my father, and you know, she was a saleswoman, a trade, like, you know. And years ago, she used to work in a convent in Chapel Lizard, and you know, she wouldn't have had it very easy, you know, and that's just acceptable for traveller women, you know, the hardship, if you wish, you know what I mean, rearing the kids, not going out to work and stuff like that on my mother's day, because she did her work before she was married. Now she got married, like, you know, she had to rear the kids and stuff for us, like, Jesus, she was some woman, like, anytime I think about her, you know, she was just absolutely incredible, looking after 9 of us. Like, she came from a very big family of 18, and she helped support to rear them. Do you know the way they say a lot you get in working class areas and traveller community? I should really rear each other. Yeah,
absolutely.
So my mother was the eldest of 18, and back then they used to travel a lot, you know. So she had the real traveller experience, as a lot of people would say, like, what makes a real traveller. But my mother did travel a lot, you know, and with her family. My mother and father met in Carlow. My mother's from Enniston, County Clare, and my father's from Carlow. But so they moved to Dublin 40 years ago. Well, it'd be over 40 years, about 45, 46 years ago now. They moved to Dublin and never left. Yeah. originally then from Cherry Orchard, but talking about women, like, you know, my dad was a really good man, you know, and I couldn't take it from him because a lot of pressures on traveller men as well. Do you know what I mean? And those pressures may be for bringing in the money, you know, for a lot of pressure will come if, like, to get daughters married and having to pay for that and stuff, and keeping up the appearance of your house looking well, because travellers, we take an awful lot of pride in our homes, you know.
As I can see, you have a beautiful gaff.
Thanks. So, but I have a little theory behind that as well, and it's kind of psychological, you know. When you're seen outside as a scummy, dirty knacker, that you want your home to be the best. So when a settled person does come into your home and see it, they don't, like, you know, and I think that's why we do it, like.
Is it?
I don't know, but that's my kind of, you know. Yeah, and I kind of, like, and that's why I'd imagine why we do it. Now, I do it myself, you know.
I didn't expect it to be any different to this. Like, I just knew when I came in here this gaff was going to be rocking. Yeah, it's lovely. It's deadly gaff.
It's clean, but a lot, like, that there was kind of, and it's still very much the women's role in our community.
Okay.
Do you know?
Okay.
To clean, to cook, and I just think it's really hard.
Yeah. For
a lot of traveller women to have, like, when we look at the general population, you know, women don't have equality to men, you know, that, like, we're no two people are the same. Me and my twin sister are completely two different individuals, right? And now we're twins. We're in the one sack, everything that goes with it. You couldn't meet two closer individuals to me and my twin sister. Okay?
Okay.
But we're completely different. Yeah. I have different needs than her.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're still members of the traveller community, you know, but yet we're different individuals too.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
we should be respected for that.
Of course.
And we're still traveller women, do you know? So, like, do you know, for me, I moved out of my house in 2012 after I got the tattoo on my arm. I moved out. I wasn't married, and I said I've never any intentions of getting married, and I just don't think it's right that traveller women can't move out of home until they're married. You know,
right. Rule breaker.
Yeah, but traveller men can move out of home, you know, because there's no labels that would come with a traveller man if he was to move out of home, but a label would come with a traveller woman. And so I moved out of home in 2012, and fair play to my family, you know, like, I may give out and whatever else goes with it, but they've always accepted everything I've done. Like, I look back now, you know, and I've done things that a lot of other traveller women probably want to still do today, but can't feel that they can't do it, you know.
Well, hopefully today that your voice gets out there, that you will be an inspiration and a motivation to these ladies, because I'm blown away with your power, the strength of power, because you know what I mean, it's very hard to stand out on your own against a community. No judgment against your community, any community. Like, to stand out on your own beliefs is difficult.
I feel like to stand up for your own beliefs is difficult in any community.
Anywhere in life, you don't want to be out on your own. It's cold out there.
But I feel as, like, for a lot of traveller women, you know, like, if you look at the referendum that we just passed, absolutely amazing achievement for women of Ireland, you know. Can I
ask you about that? You've got a fan in the hospital, a lady, she's a friend of mine that I work with, her name is Kathleen, she thinks you're an amazing woman. You spoke at the repeal, the 8th, and you asked how many traveller women were in the crowd, and there was none there. Why was that? Why was there?
Again, you know.
Do you think there was and they just didn't come out and say they were?
That's possible. Again, the shame that comes that we're speaking dirty, you know what I mean? Like, we're not allowed to speak about reproductive health care. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if abortion is one of the most dirtiest things all women of Ireland could possibly speak about, you know. And for those women who've had abortions in the past, imagine how hard it is for those women to speak out. Or the ones who's actually travelling today because, like, legislation is not put in yet.
No.
So, like, of course traveller women has had abortions, of course. And I know a few. I wouldn't say I know many, but I know a few, but it's a few too much, you know. And what's in your community is in our community. We have thugs in our community, but they're in the settled community as well. We have young people with disabilities in our community. They're in the settled community too, you know? And a lot of the the stereotyping and them scruffy knackers and everything else that goes with it, right? You open up the Sunday World and a Sunday rubbish newspaper, absolutely a piece of junk, right? It's more of the settled community. Do you know what I mean? And it's more speaking about gangs within the settled community.
Of course, yeah,
but yet we don't label all settled people the same. Okay. Do you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yet, if something happens with the traveller community, it's all over the media, and we label every single member of our community and we paint them all with one brush. Absolutely. And that's not fair, you know. But going back to the referendum was really, really hard for me as a traveller woman to come out and say I'm pro-choice, you know. And it wasn't that other women couldn't do it, because there was a lot of pro-choice women that's involved in organisations couldn't come out because of their work, that didn't feel that they had to be loud about it, you know, but still went out and voted yes.
Okay.
And what I always say is, like, we're a minority within a minority that voted yes, you know, because like again, culture, religion, you know, Catholic Church has had a big influence in our community.
Yeah, all over Ireland, the Catholic guilt.
Yes, and you know, I've been to a church. I've been to my uncle's funeral a year ago, and I remember the priest saying, turn off, use your phones. Oh, pull up, use your tops. Don't fix yourself. Like, being pure racist and discrimination towards my community, you know.
Yeah.
Now, there's priests out there that will marry young traveller women from the age of 15 years of age. You have to be 16 before your parents can give permission to be married.
Right.
And I know for a fact there's young girls in my community that's 15. Recently, one that just turned 15 that got married here, right? But they're getting married through the eyes of God. Right. And these priests, whatever, are marrying these young women and men by the eyes of God.
Okay.
But they're not legally married, you know, until the parents give permission at 16 years of age.
Right.
Now, a lot of people may say that's culture. That's not culture, that's norm, you know?
Yeah.
And I think, for me personally, and as a traveller woman, you spoke about standing by yourself. There's so many other traveller women out there like me. So many of us, you know. I'm not standing by myself. I have an army of traveller women behind me. I have an army of traveller women around me, you know, constantly. But we don't all have to be loud, do you know?
That's a great saying, actually.
You know, and I think sometimes the one that can sit back and observe is probably the most cutest one. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's so many, like, great traveller women out there in all of the organisations that works, that rears children. Like, a lot of the time we say the stay-at-home mammy. A lot of women choose to stay at home, you know? And I think that's what makes us feminists as well. Now, my friend Damien would always say to me was, going back a few weeks ago, he'd say, Eileen, own that word feminist. And don't be afraid of it. Because I was always like, geez, I'm not a feminist. I'd be nervous of it, you know?
Yeah. Because
I didn't have blue hair. I didn't dress in dramatic clothes. And I was like, well, how could I be a feminist if I don't do this? You know, because we even have this stereotype of what a feminist is, right? Yeah. So, like, a feminist is someone who wants equality for both genders, for all genders, you know? Like, I want equality for my trans sisters. I want equality for anybody that identifies as whatever they want to be themselves. Because no doctor can tell anybody what they are and what they're not. It's what you feel inside is your gender, you know? And a lot of people find that very, very hard to believe. But, and I am going with it. It's what makes a person them. You know, and if, like, for me, you know, I don't want to be seen our traveller men die from suicide, you know, and I'll do what I can do in my power to get supports in place, along with other great traveller men and women out there. Great organisation, like I wouldn't say great organisations, because a lot of the traveller organisations are not great. But I mean great people that's on the ground, you know, that will be looking for these supports as well, you know. So when we look at the term feminist, for me it's around equality for any gender, you know.
Of course.
But we have to be, however, sorry, I don't like the word but, because when we say but, then we don't really mean it.
Yeah.
However, if we look world nationally, it's the women that suffers the most inequality, you know. Within my community, I know that women suffer more inequality than men. And I don't want that, you know. I want to see women in my community going as far as we can go as a bunch of women. And if someone wants to be pro-choice, to feel comfortable within themselves and saying, I'm pro-choice. You know what I mean? Or feel comfortable within themselves to say, I, like, you know, to be able to speak about sex, to be able to speak about periods, for stuff that we don't speak about as a community within our, like, you know, if my brother was standing there now, I wouldn't be able to say, I'm having a bad day, I have my periods. No, because that's seen as being disrespectful
and dirty,
but it's a fact of life. Now, I haven't got to that stage where I'd even sit and even ever say that, you know.
Well, I don't think anyone wants to sit with their brother and tell them that they're in their period. No, but
you know the way you kind of see, you know, you feel comfortable, like you could be talking to your friend but your brother's sitting there.
Oh, right,
do you know
right,
that kind of way?
Gotcha, yeah.
And you wouldn't, but like, it's like, you know, it's about how, it's always about respecting yourself.
Right.
But what's respect?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, once you're not doing any harm to anybody or out to hurt anybody, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, then you should be, I always say, live and be let live, you know?
Of course. There's one thing we're just at the touching on there a second ago. Two things. Suicide and sexuality within the travelling community. What's your thoughts on that? That must be difficult for people. One, the sexuality, you know, just again what you said, there was a lovely quote, me trans sisters. I was thinking, does she have a sister that's trans? And then it just dawned on me, boom, she means all the girls that are trans. And that's lovely. So, sexuality within the travelling community, what's your thoughts on that? Well, that must be, Jesus, that's difficult.
One of my closest friends in my community is a gay man.
Okay.
And I get on so well with him, you know.
Yeah.
But he gets on very well with me as well, and he probably wouldn't mind me mentioning his name, Owen DeBardon, you know. We together, I think me and Owen are, you know, we have different ways of working.
Yeah.
But together we bring a lot. Do you know that kind of way? Like, I'd ring Owen for advice or whatever. And I'd know an awful lot of gay traveller men. Right. But funny enough, I haven't met one lesbian traveller woman, right? Now, I know I haven't met personally, like, no woman has ever come up to say to me, I'm a lesbian. Now, not that you have to come up and say to me,
but we're just saying, I just haven't met one.
I've never met one.
Yeah,
right?
like...
Yeah, but I have a cousin in England. Her name is... Anyway, her name I'm not going to say here.
Yeah.
I have a cousin in England who is a lesbian. And her partner has a baby.
Right.
And it's just absolutely amazing, you know. So I lie when I said I don't know, but in Ireland I haven't met, like, and I'm sure that they're out there, you know.
That hurts. Like, I'm going, Jesus, like, they're out there. They're, like, as you say, we're in our community. They can't even come out within their community. So we're...
Yeah, and I think maybe it's harder for women to come out than for men, you know.
That's funny you say that, because a family member of mine just came out just at Christmas, say that she had a girlfriend, and I was so proud of her. And we were only talking about it to someone else, and I said, I think it's easier for girls. With men, it's like, you don't want a man to come out, you know. Lads are really cruel to each other sometimes. But funny that you say that it's difficult for women.
But in our community.
Yeah.
You know, because, like...
Jesus.
Like, you know, I could name off at least 5 off the top of my head that I know Do you know what I mean? Within my community.
Men,
yes.
Yeah. I would have thought it would have been the other way around. I would have thought men definitely wouldn't come out because I just thought it'd be probably a little bit harder environment. Yeah, but that's an education for me.
Yeah, like, I don't know, maybe it's just, or maybe I haven't heard of it, you know. But
I think you'd be in the know.
I really think that by now I would have, like, you know, and I would actually love that women in our community who are lesbians feel comfortable to be able to come out. You know, again, that word, come out, and just be yourself. But it is really, really hard, like, you know, within the community. And it's equally as hard for men, you know, because, like, again, as I said to you, everything that goes on in the general population happens within our community too. Do you know? And, like, men in our community are 7 times more higher to die by suicide than the general population. Women in our community are 6 times more higher to die by suicide than the general population. That's a national crisis.
Jesus Christ.
That is a national...
That's some statistic.
And that is a national crisis.
Wow.
Do you know what I mean? So, how do we... And this again comes from the outside in. And a lot of it can come from the inside out too.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, you know.
But statistics a fucking statistic.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
And Google it. Google suicide rate in the traveller community and you'll see it. That men is 7 times more higher than the general population. Women 6 times more higher than the general population. Traveller women die 12 years less than the settled women. Traveller men die 15 years less than the general population. Around the suicide rate, like, where I got that information from, like, would be the All Ireland Traveller Study, and in from 2010. So if you want to Google the All Ireland Traveller Study 2010, you'll find it there.
I'll definitely look that up.
Yeah.
So I'm part of this. I'm part of the suicide awareness committee in the hospital.
So if you even look at the homeless figures within our community, traveller community are 11 times more likely to be homeless than the general population, and that was in last year's census of 2016. So again, if you look at the beginning of my story when I said to you, not accepting myself because society, you know, so it's internalized, like, employment, education, health, accommodation, at every single level. Would you not feel suicidal? Do you know, if I could even imagine...
I can't even get my head around that, Eileen. I really can't. I swear to God, I'm touched by that. That's unbelievable. I've a lump in my throat. That's nuts.
Yeah, that...
Nuts.
Like, and that's, like... But if that rate was that high within the general population, there would be a national crisis around it. There'd be so much more services put in place. And unfortunately, we don't have them services. You know, like, if you look... The recession... hot ardent, and they cut traveller community 86% of a cut within the education system. Only when things were going okay for my community. I would have done my Leaving Cert in 2008, and things were kind of getting, you know, people were moving forward, and then services got pulled from right underneath our nose. I was in the Irish Traveller Movement working at the time. We couldn't do anything about it. That was a done deal basically from the Department of Education, and swiped it. And now there's not many again because we need the supports to be able to do it. And the education system needs to stop blaming traveller parents around and having a low expectation of the traveller community, you know. Because I was one of them that thought I was going to get married at a young age. I wasn't going to do something. And I know that that's not the case. And I know as a professional community and youth worker, you know, that we have to value our young people in Ireland, and that we have to encourage our young people to go on and give them that bit of support, you know.
Absolutely.
But the traveller community do not, like, you know, imagine having a teacher that says, oh, she's going to be married, or he's going to go into the bare knuckle fighting. Do you know what I mean? Where they're stereotyping and not valuing, but not believing in our children either. When I was in fourth year, one of the male teachers in my school Now, I got on well with him and stuff, don't get me wrong, you know. And from the accident and stuff, I would have got a certain amount of money, you know. And like, I didn't get access to that money until I was 21. I just feel the need to say that as well. I remember him saying to me when that was all over the media about my accident and about getting money. Jesus Christ, if I had it back again, I wouldn't have settled with what I got. But anyways, at the time, I thought it was really big, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember him saying to me, would you not go now and get a pair of tits, basically, like Dolly Parton, and be off to get married? Now, at the time, it was a joke. Do you know what I mean? But it wasn't a joke to me, and I didn't question it or whatever else. And I said, no, I said, Si, if I do it in spite, I said, Si, I'm going to get me leaving cert. And I kind of, like, you know what I mean? From there, it was kind of like, because his expectations was, this is how all traveller women are Dolly Parton and big earrings and blah, 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 you know?
Yeah.
And I think then, like, that was kind of, I wouldn't say it was a turning point because I was in fourth year, but it did make me nearly get expelled, you know, because I got into an awful lot of trouble afterwards. But look, a lot of young people in the education system and even in work, we all have our own issues and our own stories. Do you know what I mean?
Of course.
And we all have stuff that's going on for us at home as well, you know.
Yeah.
So I think we need to be very mindful of that, like even going into employment, whatever. But yeah, like, you know, there's some figures that would make the hair stand in your head that the settled community don't know about, you know.
Just want to go back on something you said earlier, and I had to wrote down a term, right? Language. Now, growing up, the term has always been used, knackers, and not relate. I'm going to admit, I used that as a kid, growing up. You know, everyone said, "Oh, you done something knacker," but I wouldn't be slagging the travelling community. Now it grinds on me, because people say about the people from my community. What is that like when you hear that term, when people just nilly-willy just say it? What's it like for you to hear that?
Horrible.
Right.
Absolutely horrible.
Because people say about the work class area come from, oh, he's from around there, he's a fucking knacker.
Yes.
And it really grinds on me.
But you know, the term knacker has become normalised.
Normalised, absolutely.
Yes, right? So, I remember actually going back in 2015, I did some work in Belong To, you know, and placement with college.
The day with the trans down on Dame Street.
Yeah,
I know a girl that works there, trying to get her on the podcast. Great service.
Would it be Gillian, would it?
No, Lisa.
Oh, Lisa, I know Lisa really well.
Yeah.
She's really, really lovely.
Because I really want to get to know about, just like the way you were giving me an education about the travelling community.
Like, I remember one of the workers said to me in Belong To, you know, if you're working in a youth service and if they say that's gay, this is gay, don't accept it. Question the young people, you know, and say, why are you saying that's gay? Do you know what gay means? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then it's like, it's not normalising it in an organisation or in a sentence, you know. So it's the same way kind of with the term knacker, you know. Like, if I hear someone using it, and even though it doesn't be referred, people say it's not referred to me. However, I still feel insult, you know, that, like, this originated from because my community, you know, and make my community be out to be something that it's not. Like, there was, yes, the knacker yards, and do you know what I mean? But it's become such a horrible word, and it's just absolutely nasty. It's a word that, like, you know, if you look at the word queer, you know, the LGBT community are trying to own that word and get it back, you know.
Yeah.
But
what do you mean they're trying to get it back? Are they trying to use it again as I say we're queer
as positive? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying all LGBT. I'm not saying all.
No. I've heard recently
men.
another podcast. Like, I listened to a lot of Blind Boy, and he was using the term queer, and he wasn't being derogatory in it, but it seems like it's being used again, but not in a negative connotation.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, you know, I'm on Twitter, and I'd follow a lot of gay men and lesbian women on Twitter. And it's like these communities, because a lot of the time we say LGBTI plus Q, whatever, community, the gay community is completely different and have different challenges than the lesbian community, than the trans community. You know what I mean? So I like to say LGBT, QI plus communities. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because they're different.
I get
challenges.
Lost after the LG something. I just stop.
and that's like, you know. But I think when you're in this kind of work and study that everything is in just letters, and what is absolutely horrible for me, you know. I do some work in Ballyfarm, a Travellers Action Project, and they call it BTAP, you know.
Right.
And yesterday I was at a launch for Traveller Cross Party Support Oireachtas parties, Oireachtas committee in Dáil now, that's specifically for travellers.
I've seen that on Twitter. It's brilliant.
TOG, right? So now they start saying the TOG, you know. But I'd rather, even though I have dyslexia, I'd rather see it big because at least I understand what it is, you know. Yeah. But like, you know, so about not normalising words, you know, that kind of way. But yesterday in the Dáil there was a bill passed that traveller culture and history will be taught in our schools. Wow. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And if this bill is passed, then it will be in every school in Ireland, you know.
That's unbelievable.
And it'll be taught the same way as our Irish history, you know. So, and I'm hoping that it'll be taught by members of the traveller community, you know. But so that was an incredible day yesterday, and like, you know, being part of that, you can really see the change. Do you know, that kind of way that things may be moving forward in Ireland for our community.
Savage. It
is actually, yeah. And this man comment on the Irish Times, as I was saying, about taxpayer, about calling knackers, and you know something, such a good day yesterday was. It was like just getting a kick in the chest and saying, no, this is who you are. Do you know? And this is not who we are as a community of people, you know. And I will do alongside, collectively, with members of my community, to do what it takes to get travellers not just recognised in Ireland by a piece of paper, what Enda Kenny did in March 2017. It's to get travellers valued and recognised in our society of the people we are. And to be like, you know, hate, my mother would always say, hate is a horrible thing, you know. And it's a horrible word to use, that you hate someone, you know. So we never grew up using hate or anything like that, saying you hated such a one or whatever else, you know. You may dislike somebody, and that's okay, like, because we're all human, you know. But to really be able to write after such a good day yesterday, and I went down into his, as we do, account, and, you know, he was commenting about Trump and everything else went with it. So to me, I was like, okay, he's just an asshole, basically.
He's just a horrible human being.
Yeah, so I just said, like, we'll leave him have to it. But, yeah.
Savage. That's unbelievable. I know you just talked earlier about your mum, but who are the people, and I don't use the word inspiration, but who's been your role models? Who are people that you've looked upon that have, you know, you've done amazing work, you're an amazing young lady. Who has helped you shape that?
I'll tell you, right, again, come back to language. Labels, right? And you might actually kill me over doing this, but I'm going to do it. A lady is labelling a woman, right?
Can I not say lady?
A woman.
Okay.
So right. Anytime you talk about a man, do you say a gentleman?
Sometimes they do. Some say a lad, gentleman, man, whatever.
But okay.
I'm just saying a young lady, or just
a young woman.
Young woman.
You can take it out.
I will not be taking that out. That's your point.
All I'm saying is, like, you know, so what makes a woman a lady, you know?
I don't know. Like, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
I just say lady, lad, young one. It depends on the humour, I mean.
It's your language as well, like, because I have my language, you know.
Absolutely.
We say bjor, a lakin, which is woman, girl in Cant, you know? And that's good. But, like, for me, when I heard the term, like, you know, a lady, that's a good woman. Remember, we were talking about respecting yourself.
Oh, yeah,
so,
yeah.
oh, she's a lady. But then the one that, I don't know, went out and had a few drinks or even had a one-night stand, and so does ladies.
Oh, she's not so much a lady.
Yeah,
No, but I would call her a lady as well. I wouldn't give her a rat.
Yeah, so
it's my choice of language.
I'm not saying anyway it's a right or wrong thing, but for me, I just think that it's a label as well. So if we say women, men, boys, girls, well, then we couldn't really get it wrong, you know. Cool. Anyway, my role models, my biggest inspiration would be my mother. Yeah. You know, my mother would have got a bar in order, toast my dad. Going back in the early 90s, well, actually mid-90s, and the older I got, the more I admired her for that, you know. She stood her ground. She was a very strong woman, and she had so much life in her, but also she was a woman that would try to, you know, like, the best for everybody, you know. So she would be my biggest inspiration. Then I couldn't actually look at a lot of celebrities and say I'm inspiration by any celebrity, you know. I would, like, one of my like, how I even learned about feminism was from a man. And I used to work with him in 2011 in the Irish Traveller Movement, and Damien Pilo was his name, and he would be a very big inspiration of mine, you know. And of course, then there's other great women that are really, like, Grania O'Toole, Grania Griffin. Like, I've got so many strong women in my life. Lorraine McMahon, like my own twin sister, you know. And I think traveller women, going back, like, looking at traveller women inspire me an awful lot, you know. And seeing what they overcome every single day with hatred, discrimination, you know. But my biggest inspiration would be my mother. Yeah.
Wow, powerful. And that's why I have you on the show, like, being an inspiration. And I always seen you on the telly, and for you sit amongst those so-called bigwigs, and the way you said, you know, about having the masters in reality, I was like, wow, what a woman, and it's brilliant. And I hope people can take from this interview what I got from that and what I'm getting right now sitting with you. It's powerful.
Do you know, like, again, it comes down to decision making. It comes down to who has the power, who doesn't have the power, you know. Like, a lot of these people don't know what it's like to live in a working class area. Wouldn't have the first clue, like, you know. They'd probably be terrified to even drive into a working class area.
My old me would have sat there and been felt insecure with those people around me. Not now, I'd have no problem, but I could relate when, and I was thinking, and when I seen you, I was like, that's savage, she's brilliant. You know, but some people they wouldn't have the Lee Roadies to sit there and have
the only person I'm in competition with is myself.
Deadly.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely brilliant.
And I found that out when I was 25. It took me at least 25 years to love myself, to accept me in the world. So, like, you know, a lot of people are doing what they're doing for money, you know. And then you've got gobshites like myself who's doing it for passion, who's doing it, like, you know, like I, you know, every talk, everything I've ever done, never charged, you know, and, like, to date, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
So it's one of the hardest jobs in the world, is being an activist.
That's what I was going to ask. My next question was, what does an activist do every day? What's your role? What are you up to? What projects are you involved in?
I've took a break for the last 2 weeks after the repeal of the 8th Amendment. Basically, you know, it got very sexy at the end, the referendum. Do you know what I mean? Where it hurted me that, you know, there were so many working class women involved in the repealing the 8th Amendment, and then it got took over by white middle class women. Do you know?
Okay.
And that's fine, like, you know. And I've always tried to create a space for the others, you know, for travellers, for Muslims, for migrants, refugees, for, you know, during the referendum, it was really tiring for me, you know, because I was in places where I didn't feel very comfortable. But I remember a tutor once said to me in Minute that them awkward moments will be the best moments, you know. So I was in a lot of uncomfortable spaces that I wouldn't usually do. But again, so anyways, I just took a break from the nasty messages I was getting from men. Nasty messages I was getting from within my own community, from outside my own community. And yeah, I did make some great friends in the referendum who are quite middle class women, you know, who are absolutely amazing women, and who understands that us, the working class, other women, traveller women, are not looking to take. We're looking to get up to the same level, to have the same opportunities, you know. So, like, you know, I've met so many mighty women during the referendum, but I also met some women that I'd never speak to again. And that there is the truth, you know.
Wow.
So, like, and I'm not going to be a liar about it, you know. Like, you know, Avril Smith, absolutely love her to bits. Tara Flynn, Grania Griffin, Anna, I can never say Anna's surname. Anna, they were peel jumpers, you know. Right. I loved her to bits, and I met great people. Like, and then I'm actually a member of People Before Profit. Wow. Yeah, and you know, we had I've had so many great women around me within that movement, and I look at People Before Profit as a movement for change also as well, you know. So like Emma Hendrikins, absolutely, like, really got close to Emma during the referendum as well, you know. So I'd really great, powerful women that will always be friends with me for the rest of my life, you know. Brilliant. And then there's also, and I'm sure I left out a good few other women that I wouldn't have time to name them all. No. But I've met, like, you know, young women that didn't have a clue about the traveller community and are so open now, like, you know, that kind of way. And even, like, you know, when I'd see in social media men saying, oh, that's not traveller women's culture, blah, 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 you know, like, which is not true. Do you know what I mean? Again, like, culture is, like, sometimes it's not culture, it's norm, it's what we've always accepted. Right. And I encourage women in my community, if you want to live your life for you, live it and still be a member of your own community. And I encourage every woman in Ireland and all over the world, if I could, to own who you are as a person. Savage. You know? We're doing courses, you know. I've done a leadership and equality, and there's diversity training in my hospital, and there's this course and there's that course. In 2018, are we a society now that promotes quality as much? The work that's gone into it, is it an equality savvy world we live in? What's your thoughts? Oh no, Ireland, okay, because it's everywhere in my hospital, you know, everywhere we work. But are the people practicing it? Have we changed in the last 10 years, no, even with all this training? No, Jesus, no. You look at but we're training at it. Individuals may have changed, you know. It's a system. Do you know that kind of way? Like, I know great people who will be members of bad systems and controlled by really bad right-wing people, you know. If I was to look there at Gay Pride just recently, to me, it has become capitalised, you know. Okay. The army is out, Aer Lingus is out, Dublin Bus is out, Bank of Ireland is out. We're all getting on the bandwagon with it, promoting. Yes, we're all supporting the gays. No, we're not. Things haven't changed except same-sex marriage in Ireland, okay? And, okay, it may be easier. Now, I don't even know, I could be making a big assumption here. It may be easier to speak around gay, lesbian, around sexuality in Ireland today. It may be easier, right? Is it easier to work? Is it easier to play football? That's funny you say that, because there was a football team, Bows had this flag up, gay Emian or whatever they had. And I'm thinking, do you actually have a player that's gay or a team of trans? And
lads, I don't know any footballer in Ireland or England that has come out and said that they were gay, but yet they're promoting this and they're saying we're supporting. But
see, a thing is, right, we'll support it. Well, not me now personally, Ireland. If it's sexy, everyone's on the bandwagon. You know?
Oh, okay, yeah.
I remember in 2015 when I realised I was pro-choice, because previous to that, what a lot of people don't know, I would have been anti-choice.
Right.
You know, because it's always easier to speak about the life, you know.
Yeah.
So it was really hard, and again for seeing what I've seen within my own community and outside my own community for women, and how I believe women should have choice. Yeah. So I remember getting up in 2015, speaking around why I'm pro-choice and reproductive rights. Now at the time, you know, I didn't want to even speak about reproductive rights because I was terrified of the language that came with it. I didn't see all that many people, you know, and it was only last year when the campaign was pulling out and calling out, actually September of last year, calling out politicians to support the campaign, you know. And then it becomes automatically that, oh, everybody is doing it, so I'm going to do it. Now that's fine, like, because it passed, you know what I mean, and that's great for women. It's a bit like the Pride now, you know, like they have all these flags, but are they doing the work, you know? So like, you know, how difficult
Sunny day supporters.
Yes, like how difficult is it for a footballer in Ireland to say that they're gay? Are they really accepted? But you know what I mean? Like, is Bank of Ireland really supporting gay, lesbian, LGBT people in the workplace? You know?
Well, I've spoken to people in my job, and I've asked, you know, gays within the job, because there is some, but they just wouldn't feel comfortable to come out. And that's no disrespect to my organisation or company. Just people just don't feel supported in society.
There you go. You know what I mean?
Like, nothing to say where I work, and they're not the problem. It's society as a whole.
Exactly, you know. And like, we're looking at, because it's becoming capitalised, the whole Pride thing. And was my first Pride missing years.
Right.
I didn't want to be part of and now don't get me wrong, my friend Owen was there, and I love Owen to bits, and I wanted to be there to support him. But when you say equality, do you know what equality means? You know? Because if you just want equality for the gays, but not for the travellers, for the lesbians, not for the travellers, for the trans, but not for black women, you know, we really have to look at the term equality. Because if you're getting trained in equality, it's like, a lot of people say, oh, when everyone, like, when you come into my organisation, everyone gets treated the same. Stop that. Because you should open up the door to everybody, but treat people where they're at. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Because again, a traveller woman may have different challenges than a white settled woman. Do you know what I mean? So welcome everybody, but don't treat everybody the same, you know, because not every two people are the same. We've got different, like, you know, because a lot of the time when you're saying you're treating everyone the same, are you supporting that older elderly person with their documents? Do you know what I mean? To write out the
absolutely.
Have you got that bit of time in your hands to spend on with the person? Do you know what I mean?
It's just a white fluffy saying. Equality, we promote equality. Because I remember when, like, they were trying to bring in same-sex marriages, and there was something about equality, and people saying, oh, we need it. And I was like, but what about for the single fathers or the single mothers? Like, we don't promote equality right across the board. So don't say saying, let's do this and this is the best thing. Yeah, it probably is, and really good for these people. But we don't do it everywhere. And we know we say we treat everyone, you know, the same. But we don't do that. You're meant to treat people the way they want to be treated.
See, I always say we're all different, but we all should be equal worth. Do you know what I mean? So
it's a nice quote.
There's no such thing as, like, I wouldn't say there's no such thing as equality. Equality is one thing. Equal opportunities is what we're looking for.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think, like, the term equality is a very nice word, and it means, like, you know, how do we treat people equal, you know? Like, I remember one time in college, you know, if I have plates in my leg. Well, actually, I have about 12 screws in my foot. And you have a woman that's beside me that hasn't got any screws in her foot. And she's she's as fit as a fiddle, but I'm not as fit as a fiddle. So who starts the race first?
Wow.
You know?
Yeah.
Do the two of us start at the one line?
Yeah.
Now remember, we have different abilities.
Yeah.
So should I get the head start because of the screws in my foot? If so, what's the head start? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, get you.
So, and I think that's really, like, I think if we start looking at it, like, you know, if you had somebody with a walking stick doing a marathon and someone who was well able, what do you do? Like, in my opinion, I'd leave the person doing the marathon with the walking stick get a head start. Do you know, that kind of way? Because, like, they with their disability, do you know? Yeah. And I think, like, for me, and that's still equality. Now, a lot of your listeners might say, she's off her fucking head. Like, you know, what does she mean? Like, you know, for example, I can't straighten my two arms, like, you know.
Yeah.
So it's bringing down a bar for me if I had to put my two hands up straight. It's bringing down a bar to me so I can reach my hands.
Meeting your needs.
I can still do the exercise.
Yeah.
But not if the bar was like
over your head,
over
bring
my
it
head
down. Okay,
up
gotcha.
really high, you know what I mean?
Yeah, getcha.
But then you have to bring the bar down to my level. Do you know, that kind of way? So we meet people where they're at. And again, not everyone wants to be treated the same, because that's where I kind of, you know, I'm the same as everybody else. It's accept yourself for your difference and celebrate the difference. But we have to give people equal opportunities to healthcare, to accommodation, to health, education, you know. And people say, and you can have the biggest degree in the world, you could have spent thousands of euros and degrees. If you haven't got a bit of empathy or a bit of nature for a person, your degree is no good.
Absolutely.
And again, that's my opinion.
I'll totally agree with you, because a lot of the skills I use in work and the job that I do would come from my background, my empathy, my emotional and social intelligence. And I didn't learn that in college. That's something that I grew up with my family. Last thing I want to ask you, you're an amazing woman. What would you like people, the one thing you'd like people to take from this interview?
But one thing is just stop being stereotypical. Maybe that there could be something I'd like people to take from it. And every individual is different, but still come from the communities we come from. And with different levels of, I haven't spoke about the different levels of inequality, you know. When you're born into the world as a traveller, you're automatically a second-class citizen, you know. When you're born into the world as a woman, you're less again. When you're born into the world, for example, like I'm a traveller, I'm a woman, I have a disability, so, which is dyslexia, and so that there's 3 different layers of discrimination I could face in any one day. Wow. You know what I mean? Yeah. So not only are you discriminated because you're a member of the traveller community, but you're discriminated because of your disability and because of your gender, you know. And then I can come back into my community and get discriminated against because of my gender, because of my disability. Do you know, that kind of way? Yeah. So it's really about looking at intersectionality as well, like, and, you know, for me, I just absolutely love people. I love people's stories. I've learned more from living the life that I live.
My mind is blown. Like, you have to give me such an education. Like, this is everything that I didn't think I was gonna get. I didn't expect to get any of this. Like, you know, your story is phenomenal. You as a person is phenomenal. Like, it's everything the podcast we wanted: inspiration, motivation, educational. Like, I didn't know the stuff you told me about the traveller community, the suicide, the hardships, the women, the men. It's blown. I hope people are blown away just as much as I am.
And, like, you know, you say you like the kind of work you do, you know, and I know myself that, like, you know, things may be bad today, but you always have hope for tomorrow, you know, that kind of way. And I'd always say that, like, from my own accident, from being really critically ill, that you survive an accident, but then you're here for a reason, you know?
Absolutely. They say that resilience is one of the key indicators to success in life in young people or people in general. You must have bucket loads of it.
I wouldn't go that far. I'm actually I'm moving to Donegal in next month, and like I'm getting married next month as well.
Wow,
and
congratulations.
I'm still a feminist, you know, because that's my choice to get married, like.
Right.
And it's all down to choice again, an individual woman's choice, you know.
Brilliant.
But I'm not going to be taking my partner's name. I'm going to keep my name as Flynn, because it took me years to accept Eileen Flynn. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and because I'm a member of the traveller community, and he's a settled man. So therefore I'm going to keep my identity as Eileen Flynn.
Deadly.
But yeah, so you know, and it's kind of, you feel the emotions of kind of leaving Dublin and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm ready now for a new chapter of my life, and I hope someday to write a book, you know.
Well, then I'll be getting you back on the podcast if you come back on and talk to us more about the equality and more about all the other. I'm sure there's hours and hours of conversation still left in you.
100%. Like, I don't know. Like,
this is the longest podcast I've ever done. We've had to talk and like for an hour and 20 minutes, and it doesn't even feel like that. I wish the thing had stopped moving because it's been unbelievable.
Yeah. So but I'd be more than happy to come back on to the show.
Right. Well, okay, we're gonna leave it there. Thanks a lot, Eileen.
Thanks very much, Matt. I really appreciate it. Like, I've never got to tell my story the way I did today, and you know, a lot of emotions come with that and stuff. So again, I touched on a lot of stuff, and that wouldn't even be half of the reality of a life that I've lived as a 20-year-old.
I can only imagine. But this is exactly why I've asked you to come on the show. I wanted to hear your story. I wanted to know about the travelling community. I wanted to know about the work that you're doing. You nailed it on the head. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you.
A legend. Okay, so that wraps up another episode. Wow, what an amazing interview. Jesus, this podcast experience has really opened up so many doors to meet so many amazing people. Eileen is an amazing person. You know, last week I was interviewing Jules Dalby, Conor McGregor's doctor. You know, one of the most popular sports person on the planet. And then the week later, I'm over in a holding site, Lambert Park in Ballyfermot, interviewing another amazing person, Eileen Flynn. You know, no different, both equally amazing. You know, I've chose the two people to interview for different reasons, but just both are, they're amazing people, and what an experience. You know, I have to say, what came across in the interview with Eileen was her genuineness, compassion, empathy, love and kindness, you know, for human beings. You know, she dropped a few absolute pearls during the interview, you know, like her trans sisters and, you know, a few other absolute gems where I'm thinking, you know what, this is just a genuinely lovely person. Somebody that has had a lot of struggles in their life, and has not been life hardened or bittered. And don't make any mistakes. She's not soft by any means. She's a very, very powerful woman. And you would see in the interview when I said lady, and she didn't like lady, and she pulled me on it. And I left that in the interview, although she said take it out. I left it in, you know, because that's not something she wanted me to call her. But, you know what, I don't agree, because it's the language I use, and I call some people lady, some people gent, some people man, lad, woman, bird, whatever. I don't mean no disrespect, but she didn't like it. And I won't use that around her, because, you know, I would have respect for her, because that's not something that she likes. But I left it in. But she is an absolute powerful, powerful woman. But still has love and kindness and compassion and empathy. And I learned a lot from her. You know, people will have their judgments about the travelling community, about working class, about middle class, about this person, that person. But you know what? I ask you and I urge you to suspend your judgment and listen to this interview and listen to the struggles of another human being. The place that she was in her life, the hardship that she's had, the struggles, and how she's overcome those and went on to do amazing things. And she's only 27. I couldn't believe her when I met her. Like, she looks so young, but Jesus Christ, she's got such a head on her shoulders, and she's got so much determination and, you know, resilience in abundance. And we talk about that in the interview, you know, people that have resilience, you know, it's a factor for for success, and she has it in bucket loads. And I just can't thank her enough for inviting me over to her home. It was a lovely experience and lovely to meet her family and her sisters, and she's just a genuinely lovely person. So I hope you guys really enjoy the interview and get a lot from it, because I absolutely did. It was a powerful story. I'm delighted that I got to interview her. So I hope you enjoyed that interview. As always, a few people to thank. But first of all, I want to thank my new member of the team, Derek MacDonald. Derek, welcome to the Magic Minds team. Derek is on board now with the sound and editing and production of the show. I really needed somebody to give me a dig out at that, and he's gladly joined our team, so I'm absolutely delighted. I'm also going to welcome Aaron Kyo to the crew. Aaron, welcome to the crew. Aaron's going to work with me on the social media side, the promotion, the production, and all that, getting the show out there. So we're trying to make it sexy, but we're also trying to get it out there to as many people. We're trying to turn this into just a good show, you know, quality interviews, quality production, getting it out there to the masses. There's no point in me having these stored on my laptop and only one or two people that listen. So that's why I brought the lads in to build a team. We're not in it for the profit. We're in it just to make a really, really good product. Anything I do, I like to do it professionally and really well. So I'm kind of doing an injustice getting these people's amazing stories if I'm not getting it out there, but in a really professional product. So that's what we're trying to do here, is build a little team around us so we'll have a sexy little product. As always, I'll thank Noel Riley from Rooney Media. If you need any graphic design, there you are, guys. Also Caroline Harvey from ISA Nutrition. So if you have any nutritional needs, weight management, health, bodybuilding, sports specific, whatever your needs are around nutrition, check those guys out. ISA Nutrition on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. So that's all we have time for today. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. Hopefully you're getting as much out of it as I am, and you're enjoying the variety of guests. We've still some brilliant guests coming up. As always, I'll ask you, if there's somebody out there that's inspirational, motivational or educational, you think is just an awesome human being, send me their details and we'll get in contact with them, and hopefully they'll come on and do an interview with us. But till next time, mind yourself, check in on your friends and family, be kind and loving towards yourself, and practice empathy, and enjoy the show. As always, take care. Bye bye.